Okay.
Back to Tico.
Yes, thank you, Cristie. That was very interesting. Now, let's go back to fireside chat mode.
Okay.
And I have a quick question about OMO, online merge offline, which it's like self-explanatory phrase, but maybe you can rephrase and explain it to the audience. What does it mean and how is it different from O to O, online to offline, or offline to online?
So OMO, online merge offline, which means, so the example that I just give it to you guys called Space Cycle. So Space Cycle is an offline space where you can do different activities. So then now they merge all of their services to online, which means you will be able to have all of the same services in a digital world, but at your own home, within your own comfort. So that's called online merges offline, which means you will be able to deliver the same sort of services that you offer offline into online space. So for online to offline, that's also a little bit different. So some of the brand they wanted to establish it for, so previously you will be able to hear some of the brand they want to have the WeChat awareness, they wanted to attract more, they wanted to engage with influencers because they want to have more brand awareness. So once they have enough of brand awareness, they wanted to attract all of those people to their offline store. Hopefully they can to make the ultimate purchase for individual products or for individual services. So that's a traffic driven services that's called online to offline.
Okay. Now, before we jump into the next question, I want to address the attendees. You should see the Q&A bar at the bottom of the screen. So if you have some questions during the fireside chat or the introduction, please write it here and we will try to answer these when we have Q&A session. Our Q&A master, Lini, will take care of this. So I'm back with you, Cristie. Since you're working with and you have a huge experience with the startups and SMEs, can you please share with us quickly some like harsh and bright cases that you're working on with and how do you help them during these times?
So as a company, we're basically helping all the SMEs to map out their strategies in China overseas. So during this difficult time, as you see, majority of my clients are B2B. So you can see they're not be able to offer any of the services or they're not be able to sell any of the products that they have. So what do we do is we decide to take, I recommended to take this time actually re-strategize their brand or their marketing strategy, because I think we as a marketer, we have to see ahead. We have to sort of have to forecast what's going to happen after COVID-19, which is the 4G. So everyone is talking about the 4G is happening this year because of the virus. So they put a pause into it. As in mainland China, as you can see, we're bouncing back a little bit. People are starting to go in out. Some of the restaurants are start picking up the taps and then the cases. So what we've done so far is we help all of our brands to re-strategize into the next phase, which is the 5G world, when everything is merged into one space, and how we can leverage the speed to have the right target to all of the product that we're trying to engage into a different businesses.
Okay, that's wonderful. And then my next question would be, like, what do you think, how is it possible, and is it possible at all that companies and startups and SMEs prevent disaster, this kind of situation next time? And what are the things that they can help us to eliminate losses?
To eliminate what? I'm sorry, I lost you for a bit.
To eliminate losses. So how can we prevent in the future the losses that we're facing now, because we are not pretty much ready for this kind of change?
Okay, so I think to prevent it, I mean, there is no way to prevent it, but we can always be cautious with what we're doing, which is make sure all of the brand positioning is on spot. And during this difficult time, if you can't push out any of your marketing strategy plans, maybe it's time to rethink what are the other resources that you will be able to leverage. This is also work for some of the 2C brands, which so be able to leverage your own social media platform. I think that's very important. You need to understand when you will be able to share the content on live streaming platform and when it's good to share within the text. I think for brand messaging and for brand story, it's also good to share with text formats. And for the other gimmicks and for the product settings and for the fun part of things, is great to use live streaming and then to use KOCs to sort of further push into the consumer's life. In order to prevent it, I think just to make sure your strategy is on spot. Make sure you always think 2 steps ahead, even though now you're going through a difficult time. Some of the 2B companies don't have enough funding, or 2C company, they're not selling any products, but this is all temporary. So you have to think, maybe take this 3 months as a short break to re-strategize for the next 3 months or 6 months, and how we should push further after this going out. Because after this COVID-19 situation, I'm pretty sure the consumer behavior will be changed. And you can see some of the things that are going on offline are shifting online now. So maybe a lot of people actually enjoy working from home or doing exercising at home, so they have more time to do other things. So you can see a lot of people's time are much more condensed into one space. So I think for all the brands, they definitely need to make sure they have the right brand positioning and strategy moving forward.
Yeah. So do you possibly think that consumer will feel comfortable in this situation, and it will be difficult for them to go back to normal as it was before in 2019?
What do you mean by comfortable in this situation?
I mean, do you think that consumer will feel comfortable in the online behavior, and it will be difficult
Uh-huh.
for them to go back to offline stage?
I definitely think some of the things that will definitely stay. For instance, all the online medical consultant services, I think they're definitely staying because it's just really convenient. And in terms of resources, it's really spread out. So you will be able to engage with a doctor that you prefer to engage, and they're specialized into specific areas that you're looking after. It's really short and quick, and you can actually, if you want to see a professor level of doctor, you will be able to pay them online, and you can get a prescription. You will be able to finish everything within 20 minutes. But I definitely see some of the medical initiatives are going to say e-learnings definitely, but I think for e-learning, it will be a off subject. So for some of the STEAM course, for some of the STEM courses, maybe they will be able to continue afterwards. And then for lifestyle platforms like Space Cycle, I think they're definitely staying because it's actually beneficial to some of people. The best thing about the live streaming on those platforms like JD.com or JD.com is you actually can go back and review the previous clips that you missed out. So I think that definitely saves a lot of time. So for instance, some people tend to be an early bird, so they wake up at 5 in the morning, they will be able to click into the website and do some workout, a quick 40 minutes a session,
Yeah.
and then go to work, and then they will be able to do something after. So yeah.
To be honest. Um, um, uh, During, like, when you're representing RESO, you said that you help companies to find out whether OMO is for them or not. Before we jump on that, could you please briefly explain what are the tools out there, or the mindsets, or the skills and experience that will help startups, SMEs, and other companies to merge from offline to online?
I think some of the tools, I think definitely get to know all the social media tools right now in China, for instance, Douyin and Kuaishou. Even Douyin and Kuaishou, they're both live streaming platforms, but they're somewhat different because they have a different audience base. And also understand where is your space as a brand, whether it's to C or to B, or what are you looking for? What is your objective? So the social space tools are out there. So you need to understand your own media. The other thing is get in touch with the people that are specialized into one specific area, for instance, marketing or sales or business development. And through this time, trying to co-working with everyone together and come up with some initial ideas to push out further.
Okay, that's great. Now, let's go back to the phrase that you said, like stay-at-home economy. As we all see, that market has already changed and consumer behavior changed, and they prefer to stay at home and do the things remotely. Can you tell us again what are the pros and cons of the market that we are facing now, the environment that we see now?
I think stay-at-home economy is great for me because I'm lazy as a human being. I think it's great. You can actually manage your life by fingertips. But I think the downside of stay-at-home economy is you're definitely running a risk into some of the offline activities like exhibitions or offline gathering or some of the shows. However, I did see a shift for Art Basel this year. They actually promote all of their exhibitions online for free around the globe. So people actually, if they cancel their offline show, obviously, but they're going to host all of those shows online for all the people around the globe. So that might be a shift. So I think it will be 50-50. I don't think there will be a dramatic shift. Everyone will never go out again for any offline activity. I definitely see some of the things are staying. But for instance, myself, I find it's very convenient for me to use some of the tools right now.
Okay. And my next question will be, like when you speak about the favorable and unfavorable industries that stay strong and not strong during these times, can you tell us again and go deep into the stages? What are the industries that will thrive difficult times like this in the future?
So for the favorable industries are definitely seeing, so food and beverage. Mm-hmm. They're definitely the most favorable industry right now because everyone just order everything online. They will be delivered at your gate. You will be able to pick it up from the guard and so on. It's very convenient. Everything is within 30 minutes or an hour, depends on the distance. I think why it's favorable because it's convenient during this time. So the reason that it's convenient is because we can't go out. So I definitely think some of us, including myself as a consumer, we're adapting to the situation, which is also a lifestyle that we're creating. Because we've been inside for almost 2 months now, I think, since the lockdown. Mm-hmm. And then you can see personal behaviors are shifting or changing, even though people prefer to go out for a quick jog or go to the park and see their friends for a quick gathering. But after this period of time, I think we still prefer to the industry that we actually are relying on right now. For instance, cross-border commerce. It's very it's booming because we ran out of hand sanitizer. So cross-border commerce. Also, Amazon saw a big growth during this period of time because there was a lot of people ordering hand sanitizers or masks. So, and then the other thing is you would be able to see a online entertainment scene are definitely growing as well because during this time quite I think it's Douyin, they're also offering to showcase some of the movies online for free just to cope with the people who are staying at home, cannot go out. um, so I think the favorable, it's because it's convenient for us and we're adapting to a new lifestyles that we're forced to adapt. However, it's suitable to all of us as a human behavior. And then the unfavorable, which is the shopping malls and supermarket and restaurants and so on, I think those are just temporary freeze. So I think after 3 months, the market will definitely go back. People are still planning traveling during this 3 months. As you can see, some of the travel channels, they're still booming because people are going to look for different itineraries for their next destination. And in some of the restaurants that they will be trying to make a reservation into it. So I think for the unfavorable, it's just a temporary thing because it's offline driven.
Yes, I agree. I wanted, because Startup Grind is serving startups and innovation and tech, and I want to hear your insights and your thoughts, because I'm sure much of our attendees are interested in this. How the innovation is important, and what are the strongest industries that are thriving now and bringing up their innovation, and this is very helpful for nowadays, and it will be for the future. So I want to know your thoughts about innovation. Is it what we need now?
I definitely think innovation is what we always need moving forward to the next decade, I would say. But what I was saying is, I think for all the brands or for all the people who want to start your own Claire, you really have to do a deep understanding or deep research in terms of you consumer or you where your product is going to land. So you need to make sure you understand who you're selling this to, because once you understand who are your consumers, you will be able to identify how you will be innovative towards that towards the products or services that you would like to have. And so I think for some of the services, live streaming will be, and the gaming will definitely be the next innovative platform. During this time, gaming is the #1 industry that is on the rise. So they have during these 2 months, we have more than 80% of the population that is online to play different games, whether it's by themselves or competitively. So I think you just need to understand what's your niche, and then make sure your brand positioning is on spot. Personalization is going to be very important moving forward, because after this whole thing, everyone have a sense of I think everyone's mind are shifting. People are understanding life from a different perspective. They're much more care about the quality of life. So I think for people who are out there, for brands, that definitely have to think towards that direction.
Yes, and to add on that of gaming, I would also mention the health innovation and education innovation, because I think most of the universities and schools around the globe, they start to learn online, remote learn,
Mhm.
which is a big step, because they didn't have much time to do this, and they still did it.
Right. And I just saw the news this morning as some of the government in Europe and in China are helping entrepreneurs and startups and SMEs to be innovative during COVID-19, they release a certain amount of funding to the market just to help and make sure more innovative brands or products are coming out through this. So I think for all the people who are interested can definitely look into this.
Yes. And yeah, most crucial part is that some people might be facing difficulties with their investors or clients, and especially startups and SMEs, small and medium enterprises. So do you, as yourself as a person and from RESO's perspective, do you have any suggestions or advices? How can they go through these difficult times and keep their relationships?
I mean, we're all going through difficult times together, so don't give up. Be positive. Keep evolving. So for all the people who don't have enough funding right now, I mean, be patient. Make sure you're evolving through this period of time. Make sure your innovation is what the market need after this whole crisis is over. And for people that are already starting their businesses are going through a very difficult time right now with their staffing or loss of contracts, I think trying to partner up with different agencies or brand to leverage your own media and come up with interesting content. I think right now is the time to do some DIYs with your own social media, which will help through this difficult time, but just to make sure your content is on spot.
Yes.
And we also, as agency RESO, we offer a 1 hour free consultant services to all the SMEs right now that are going through a hard time. Hopefully we'll be able to help out at some point.
Yeah, you mean at RESO you offer 1 hour free
Consultant services.
Okay, that's great to hear. I'm sure some of our attendees will use that opportunity. And then one of my last questions are, can you please share with us what are the free resources that are provided globally, especially for SMEs and startups? Because I see every day on social media, either LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, every other company is providing some free resources or programs. So if you know any accelerating programs these days, or funds, or startup schools, or mentorship programs, please feel free to share with us.
Well, first of all, we're offering a 1 hour services to all of you. So start with us first. And then the other services, I think Lovagan is offering some of the coding services. I'm not sure whether it's for free or you have to pay for it, but they're definitely offering coding services or classes to people who are in need. And also another company, 5-Star Plus, which is a design company I'm currently talking with. So what they do is they help different brands to come up with a design works, whether it's from logo perspective or website, or our pavilion, online visual pavilions, or offline exhibition booth. So they're definitely offering some of the services.
What's the name of the provider?
5-Stars Plus.
5 stars.
5 is a number 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Stars Plus. Yes. Okay. So they're definitely offering some of the services. And then who else? I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I know.
Yes. And we also need to keep the audience aware that there are much more coming, and don't feel devastated. And as you said, we need to stay positive and look up into the internet, because there are lots of opportunities coming up. Now, yes. Do you want to add something?
No. That's it.
So now let's move on to the questions that is coming from the audience. I want to rephrase again that people out there who are listening us, you can either ask the questions in a Q&A bar or in the WeChat group chat if you're in there, and if you're coming from China, that could be convenient for you. Okay, so the first question, Cristie, you can also see this. Can you see this, the Q&A bar on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first question is coming from anonymous attendee. And the question is, who is the best or most well-known education for teenagers between 13 to 19 years old and OMO provider online in China now, if you have this information?
Yes, I actually do have. It's actually in my deck. It's in a screenshot. Let me just screen out the names. So the name, there are two for teenagers. It really depends on if you wanted to follow the extra curriculum or you just wanted to follow the school curriculum. I think you actually can choose. The first one, it's going to be in Chinese though. Is that okay? I don't know if they have an English name.
Maybe later we can type an answer in Pinyin so they can search for it.
Do you want me to do it now or?
Yes, please, because I don't want to make mistake.
Okay, got it. So let me just type this in right now. I think the first one is called 学而思.
Okay.
The second one is called 猿辅导. And then Tencent is actually pushing out a online services, e-learning services right now. It's actually very interesting, but I don't know much to speak about it. So probably can do their own researches. I would definitely leave the name there so they can do some researches. Okay.
You're searching the name now or typing?
I'm typing.
Okay, cool. Maybe
sent.
Okay.
Done. Okay.
And the next question is, are you done with the answering?
Yeah, I just sent it through, answered. You can see as a one.
Okay, so next question coming from Asiedu Michael. And his question is, I assume he's a male. What are the critical elements her outfit looks out for in a startup before any partnership? Do you understand this question?
What are the critical elements for outfit looks out? Office? For office looks out in a startup before any partnerships? Critical element. Sorry, I don't.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't have to have answers on everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you can rephrase this, that would be great.
Yeah, maybe Asiedu Michael, if you hear us, can you please rephrase your question so we can answer on it? And then this question coming from the WeChat group, because it's from Lisa, and Lisa is our member. Hi, Lisa, thanks for sending the question.
Okay.
And her question, how to make a good marketing plan for our company product, and how to find cooperation with other companies. Is there any good suggestions about some web available to publish our products?
Okay, so first question, how to make a good marketing plan for our company products. I think you need to make an efficient plan for your products. How you define good? So I think you need to know who you're selling to and what they want. What are the demands in the market for this? Whether you have any competitors in the market, Once you find all of those elements out, you will be able to have a very extensive data in terms of who your consumers are and whether there is any competitors. So those data actually will help you to have a very precise brand positioning. Once you have the solid brand positioning, you can find out, you will be able to strategize into which platform you can seed out your product or your content for your product. So I think that will be a summarized answer for the first question. For the second one will be how to find collaborations with other company. I think it really depends on who you want to collaborate with, and then how you want the collaboration to be. So for instance, some of the restaurant is actually collaborating with um, the supermarket, because before this whole virus, some of the restaurant, they do have a very large inventory in terms of fresh veggies and frozen meat and seafood. So what they do is, since there's no one will be able to visit their actual store, they will partner up with the online platform to actually seed out their fresh veggies and frozen meat and seafood. So you see, that's how you correlate it into a different relationships, and then you need to make sure you know what you want to do in this market, and what kind of partnerships that you have in mind. Is there any good suggestions? The third question is there any good suggestions about some web abilities to publish your product? I don't know what do you mean by some web available. I think right now it's better there's two ways that you can actually publish your products. So one is through your own platform, whether it's through Weibo or WeChat, the traditional way, or through a live streaming platform, which is Kuaishou. I think Kuaishou is product driven. They actually carry out sales KPIs as well, so you can actually look into it, Kuaishou and Douyin. And since now WeChat have a live streaming channel, so it's called WeChannel, you can definitely look into that as well. So that's 3 live streaming platforms and 2 traditional platforms that you can look into. If you don't have any of your own media, you want to partner up with a third party, you have to look into a specific industry that you're in.
Okay, so the traditional one you listed is Weibo and Douyin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and
it's Kuaishou, Douyin, and WeChannel.
Oh, okay. Kuaishou, Douyin, and WeChannel. Okay.
Yes, that's the 3 live streaming platforms.
Okay, I just wanted to rephrase for the audience. Okay, we have another question coming from Clark Rubino. Thank you, Cristie, for sharing your time with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your mentor experience at China Accelerator? That's a very good question. I also wanted to ask you that.
Okay.
And there's a so he's asking about your experience at China Accelerator and maybe an example of how you mentored a startup founder. How did it help them? And thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Clark, for tuning in. I think I really like China Accelerator. I think it's a group of people that have a very, they're very energetic in a way. And I think everyone work as a big family. We all are specialized into our own industry. So I think for some of the working that I've done with China Accelerator, it's just to sort of guide the startups to have a solid brand story to start with. And then it really depends on where the startups is coming from, whether they're based out in China or overseas, just to make sure the brand positioning is on spot. And then we wanted to make sure the marketing strategy is correlated with the brand positioning. for the next 3 months. So for all the startups, I don't recommend it to have a long marketing strategy. I do recommend to have a quarterly or a half-year basis strategy, just to make sure you can constantly keep evolving and changing into shape your company into the ideal mode that you have in your mind. Maybe example of how you mentioned startup founders and how did you help them. So some of the people, they actually come into me with different questions. So some of the brands, they come to me with a brand story, how to come up with the right brand story for them, or some of the brands that they don't know how to position their brand in the market, whether it's in China or overseas. And some of the brands, they just want help with their PR, how to talk to the journalists in China, and how to form a official brand story in Chinese to the journalists. So I think it just really it really depends on what the founder wants. But my specialty is marketing, communication in general, but we also do brand stories and positionings as well. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. We'll be discussed further on this.
That's great, thank you. And then another question coming from Calvin James is that, how do you think the market will be affected by the delay of the schools opening?
How do I think the market will be delayed by the what?
How do you think that the market will be affected by the delay of the school opening?
The market will be affected by the school of delayed opening. I don't think the market will be affected by the school opening per se. In which area, in which industry, or
depends what he
which area. Yeah, I think it really depends on which industry you're referring to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think all the parents are going crazy at the moment.
Yes.
They probably want their kids out of their house and going to school as soon as possible.
Yeah, parents are affected.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelvin replied, for example, training school and after school industry. Oh, I think he means the extracurriculum subjects or the classes that parents were taking them after the school.
Okay. So it's going to be the offline sort of soccer or
yes,
exercise activities, right?
that kind of things.
Okay. So what I've heard is some of the organizations are offering online classes with their teacher. So, I mean, you can't really do much with soccer, but you can definitely coach them into a better fitness or health regimen. So maybe you can offer some of the workout sessions or stretch sessions with all the kids that are staying at home. I'm pretty sure majority of the kids at home right now, they're not doing much, but staying, eating, watching TV, or staring at their phone. So I think maybe that's one way that they can look into to see whether you can partner up with the existing platform and offer some of the services that you're specialized in.
Okay, thanks. We have some more questions, but we are already on our time to finish the webinar. So please feel free to reach out with Cristie on her LinkedIn and get more insights or more knowledge out of her. I want to thank you, Cristie, for your time and sharing your ideas with us and with our audience.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And as for attendees, I want to say that we will keep this webinar open for 2 to 3 minutes, and because Our offline events mainly were dedicated for networking and making friends and get to know each other. So if you feel that you're looking for something or you want to help others, please share your background, introduce yourselves in the chat box or in the WeChat group chat. I'd suggest you to join our WeChat group and you can stay connected longer than on this webinar. And yes, see you soon next time at our webinar. And then thank you again.
Thank you and cheers to the weekend ahead of us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you guys.